My name is Victoria, I'm 38 years old, and if you're listening closely, I'm about to tell you exactly how the funeral of my father-in-law became the most theatrical betrayal of my life. But before I plunge you into the chaos, go ahead and hit like, subscribe, ring that bell actually, this story gets juicier, and you'll want to know exactly how far I had to go to prove that I really did belong, even when he said I didn't. Okay, let me begin. I still remember walking into that cold, silent chapel, the kind of quiet that settles deep into your bones, where even the funeral home's bland flower arrangements seem conspiratorial, whispering things you can't quite hear, things that buzz like locusts behind your ears. My father-in-law, Gerald, had passed only hours before. He used to sneer whenever I walked into the room. "You don't belong here," he'd say, with that smug twist of mouth, like he was delivering a verdict. And nobody corrected him, not my husband, not my in-laws, none of them dared. But I belonged. I belonged a bit too well, actually. See, long before his untimely death, I had quietly, meticulously, lined up every piece of paper to make sure I wouldn't belong anymore. The divorce papers were signed, stamped, and waiting. But instead of serving them at home, in daylight, I waited for the day his coffin was lowered, for the scent of the casket polish, for that perfect moment when grief dulls judgment, and I let the funeral become the stage where I pulled the final act of my performance. I don't even know if I paused, if my heart thudded, or if I walked forward in slow, calm steps, as if compelled by gravity itself. I handed the lawyer, yes, his lawyer, the family's trusted counsel, the divorce papers. I watched Gerald's son, my husband, crumble as if that piece of paper was a second death sentence. And the lawyer, oh, the lawyer, he looked at me for a heartbeat longer than necessary, a smirk dancing just at the edge of his lips, and nodded. He handed the documents off at the back of the chapel, while the priest's voice droned about eternal rest, and I thought, that's it. I had finally claimed my place, even if it was outside of that family, outside of his approval. But, before I get ahead of myself, too many questions are already spinning around in your head. You're thinking, did he find out? Was there chaos? Did the casket tip over? Trust me, it's all coming. So if you want to see how the funeral unraveled like a poorly tied knot, keep watching, stick with me till the end, because I promise, this next chapter is when the real fireworks begin. There's something deeply surreal about standing in a room where everyone is drowning in sorrow, and watching them miss the real show unfolding right under their noses. That's what I did. After dropping the divorce papers and giving everyone the "you don't belong here" energy, I retreated to the back row, the only person looking at the casket with almost indifference, and yet somehow, with all the attention in the world. I didn't have to listen to the prayers or the eulogies. I already had my own agenda. I studied my husband's face, pained, shocked, and haunted. He mouthed something, was it why? How, but no sound came out. Good. He didn't deserve an answer. Not yet. All those years of humiliation, of feeling like an outsider in his own bloodline, this was the moment I made them swallow it. The lawyer, a sleek man named Marcus, hovered nearby. He cleared his throat, feigning mournful concern, but it was dead eyes behind that expression, eyes that knew the deal we had struck in secret. Late nights at his office, whispering scheme and strategy, forging signatures and sealing destinies. The paragraphs of legalese that granted me everything I desired, quietly signed while the family thought I was submissive, grieving, complicit. Little did they know I was plotting every line. Suddenly, I hear someone gasp. It's my mother-in-law, her eyes wide, her voice cracks like broken glass. What? And just like that, like a strand of smoke, the secret leaked. The lawyer, ever so professional, cleared his throat again and uttered, so matter-of-factly, here are the documents. Divorce. Filed. Effective today. The sermon's crescendo stuttered mid-air. People stared. Some hands flew to mouths. My husband looked as though he'd been gutted. I felt the weight lifted, like I'd held breath for years and finally exhaled. The coffin seemed to sink deeper, and I'm certain I saw Gerald's ghost roll its eyes. You saw me, you denied me until I owned every damn thing you thought you could control. That was my moment. But the question that burned inside me, and you're thinking it, too, what happens now? Does he lash out? Does the lawyer flip sides? Does the rest of the family dissolve into chaos? Spoiler alert, oh yes, chaos is exactly where this is headed. Stick around, because Chapter 3, it's when alliances shift, and I finally get to show everyone just how far I was willing to go. And if you're eager to see the fallout, you know the drill. Stay tuned, don't blink, and ring that bell. This is just the beginning. When the murmur of shock turned into whispers of betrayal, I watched carefully, sipping the stunned silence like a fine, dark wine. The funeral suddenly morphed from a memorial into a courtroom, and I, unexpectedly, became the center of attention. Some of the relatives shuffled toward me, angry, confused, clutching tissues as if ready to lob them like grenades. You did what? One aunt hissed. You're destroying the family, another spat. But I was untethered. I met each gaze, let them simmer. I did what I needed to do, I said, voice soft but sharp, like broken glass pressed on a paper cut. Because I belonged here, in control of my life, my destiny, not outside looking in, unwelcomed, unrepresented. I paused, let it soak in, watched them recoil. Even the priest cleared his throat. Then, a surprising shift, my husband approached, his shoulders trembling. Sadness, betrayal, longing, he wore them like armor. He said, "You didn't have to do this here, of all places." And I said, "I could have done it at home, with humility. But I waited for your father to lie there, declaring I'm not family. And then I acted." The words hit harder than any physical blow. Marcus, the lawyer, stood by, expressions unreadable. He whispered in my ear, "Everything's in place. The assets, the property, the company shares." The weight behind that promise cut deeper than any casket lid. I nodded. I was ready. That moment, the tide changed. I wasn't the outsider anymore, I was the player. The rest of the funeral devolved, arguments erupted, sobs turned into accusations. Someone knocked over a vase, water spilled onto the plush carpet, symbolic, perfect, chaotic. I watched as the family fractured in real time, each piece tumbling like dominoes I had set. And through it all, I was calm. I had taken control, rewritten my fate, and held the final line. So, what happens next? What will be the cost? How will he rebuild what I dismantled? Or better yet, should he even try? In Chapter 4, I'll tell you how everything unraveled, and how I found my own redemption, though not the kind you'd expect. Brace yourself, because the final blow, the real twist, it's one you won't see coming. Here we are. The chapel is empty now, only echoes of what happened earlier ripple through the air as I stand by the door, suitcase in hand. Behind me, my husband gathers his father's belongings, mementos, frames, dusty medals. There's a hollow quiet, but in that emptiness, I feel something stir, not victory, nor guilt, but release. I look at him, at the shell of the man he's become in these last hours. He isn't talking anymore, words are too heavy now. He folds the letters, the divorce papers, and tucks them into his jacket. He looks at me, long, uncertain, and for a moment the funeral is replaying in his mind, my betrayal, the lawyer's reveal, the truth delivered like a dagger. Then, he closes his eyes and exhales, like he's forgiving me without words. I slip out. My heart is full of uneven fragments, loss, spite, relief, sorrow. I walk down the main street, rain beginning to fall. The sky is heavy, weeping with me. I open the suitcase and breathe in the scent of new beginnings, my own apartment keys, a passport, an unlocked future. I realize, through all the drama, the staging, the funeral theatrics, this isn't just about inheritance, it's about walking away on my own terms. And that's my final act, leaving behind the life that never welcomed me, stepping into a life that awaits me, not defined by family, by in-laws, by cages. Because in that funeral chaos, while everyone was fixated on what I'd taken, what I really took was freedom. And that freedom, it's mine to define now. So, if you've stuck with me this far, thank you. If this story hit something in you, anger, triumph, whatever, share it, comment, like, but more than that, remember, sometimes you have to be your own heir, your own executor, and sometimes the stage where you rise is the exact place they tried to bury you.